Alright, Chapter 7 review. If you have not tried this yet on your own, I would recommend you to stop the video and try doing the problems and then come back to it, because it's always good to think about and try first and then watch it. Alright, Chapter 7 review. The first one says consider the function f of x that's mapped onto 3x squared minus 3x plus 3. Find f of 4. So first of all, what do they want you to do with this 4? They want you to plug it in for your x values. So you would simply have f of 4 is equal to your 3 times your 4 squared minus your 3 times 4 plus 3. Alright, and you simply put that into your calculator. So you have 3 times your 4 squared minus 3 times 4 plus 3 is 39. Alright, now this says g of x is equal to the greatest integer of x. And what did those brackets mean? Round down. So if we take a number that is in between your negative 6 and your 5.5, negative 5.5, if you pick any number, let's say negative 5.6, what that brackets mean is to round down, so that means it would simply be negative 6. And any number you pick between here would have been negative 6. Alright. Alright, so now it says consider these two functions, and they want you to find p of q. So p of q is 2x divided by 9. So what you're going to do is you're going to put in q for p, because remember that this right there is p of q of x. So you're going to put that in for it. So you're going to put 2 over 9x. 2 times 2 is 4. And then you have 9x. And then we had divided by 9, right? So remember it's the same. So we have to go 4 divided by 9x times flip. Because same change flip. So 1/9. So that gives us 4 times 1, which is 4, over 9 times 9 is 81x. Alright, so now we have here B. B says to find q of p of x. So q of p of x. So now we're going to put q, so we have 2 over 9, and then that would have been our x. And now we're putting p in for the x. So we have 2x divided by 9. Let's clean that up a little bit. We have 2 divided by 9 times 2 is 18x over 9. So let's rewrite this right here. It's 2 divided by 18 x over 9. So we have same, so it's to change the sign to multiplication and flip this, so 9 over 18x. 2 times 9 is 18, so we have 18 over 18x. 18 goes into 18 once, 18 goes into 18 once, so we have 1 over x. Alright. Number 4 says to run the basic program and what will it print. So the first thing we want to do is we want to know the numbers. So they're going to be putting in for n -2, -1, 0, 1, and then 2. Those are the numbers it's going to put in for it. So it says to put in -2 in for n first. So we have 2 plus the absolute value, ABS is absolute value, of 3 times your -2. So then we have 2 plus 3 times -2 is -6. So we have the absolute value of -6. Absolute value means to make it positive, no matter what number it is. So we have 2 plus 6, which is 8. And again, if you didn't catch that, it was 2 plus 6 because of the absolute value. So that's 8. Then we put in our -1. So to put in our -1, you would have your 2 plus the absolute value of 3 times my -1. So we have 2 plus the absolute value of -3. So that's absolute value of -3 is 3. So we have 2 plus 3, which is 5. So far it printed 8, and then it's going to print 5. And the next one, we have 2 plus the absolute value of 3 times 0. So that's 0. And so we have 2 plus 0 is 2. So now we have to plug in a 1. Right? So now we got to plug in the 1. And we have 2 plus the absolute value of 3 times 1. So we have 3 plus 2 is 5. And then the last one is 2 plus the absolute value of 3 times 2. So we have 3 times 2 is 6, plus 2 is 8. And those are the numbers that they print. Alright. If g of x is equal to a -5x plus 3, find its inverse. Alright, find g of inverse of x. So the first thing that we want to do is I'm going to rewrite this and put it as a y equals. So that means that we have y equals your -5x plus 3. Then how do I find an inverse? We have to switch x and y. So I have x equals -5y plus 3. then what do I have to do? Then I have to solve for y. So then I subtract my 3, so I have x minus 3 is equal to a negative 5y. Then I'm going to divide by a negative 5. Because I don't want a negative on the bottom, I'm going to multiply the top and bottom by a negative 5, or a negative 1. Alright, so that the negative won't be on the bottom anymore. So that means I get y equals, and that's a negative x plus 3, because it has to distribute, all over your 5. And you could leave it like that, but a lot of times they don't want you to think the negative is out in front, and it's only with the x, so they rewrite it. So remember, what is this? What is y? Y is the inverse, right? So since y is the inverse, then you will go and say g of the inverse, so g inverse of x is equal to 3 minus x all over 5. Alright. Number 6. Number 6 says to tell whether the relation is a function or not. Alright, so, and then give a reason. Well, A has an inequality. And what does inequality mean? It means to shade, right? So that means that we have a line that is going to be shaded, and we have 0, 0, 0 is greater than 7, which is false, so we know that it's going to be shaded down here. So when we do our vertical line test, we can obviously see that for every x there are multiples of y's, so that means that it's not a function. So no, it's not a function. And I'm going to say, because for every x, there are infinitely many y's. Alright. And then for B, B is 1/5 x squared. So what is that? It's a parabola. So since B is a parabola, that is a function. So yep. And for every x, there is only one y. Pass that horizontal or that vertical line test. Now, what does the horizontal line test tell us? The horizontal line tells us if the function is 1-to-1, and it also tells us if its inverse is going to be a function. So like this one, its inverse is not a function, right? So the horizontal line test tells us if the function is 1-to-1 and if the inverse of that function would be a function. Alright. Number 7. What is the range of this graph? Well, the first thing that we have is, let's see what this graph looks like. If I pick the point 0, it would be 0, 0. And hopefully you remember that it looks like a V. If I pick the point 1, we have 1 times -7 is your -7. So you can put it up there at 7, because absolute value of 7 is 7. Then you can go -1, -7 times -1 is 7, absolute value of that is also 7. And remember, this graph goes on forever. So because this graph goes on forever, our range is, and there's nothing down here for our y's, is there? So that means our range is positive real. What would our domain be if I asked? Your domain would be, I can put any number in there, so that mean would be all real. Alright. Number 8. Number 8 says, consider the function p of x is equal to 5x divided by 3, and q of x is equal to 5 divided by 3x. Are they inverses of each other? Justify your answer. So remember, to be inverses of each other, they must, they must, when you put them inside each other, they must equal x, right? So let's try it. So we're going to do p of q of x. So we're going to go 5, and instead of x, I'm going to leave those brackets, divided by 3. So then I'm going to insert this for my x. So I'm going to insert that, 5 over 3x. 5 times 5 is 25. And then we have 3x, and that's divided by 3. So we have same, keep it the same, so 25 over 3x. Change my symbol, so multiply, flip my 3 to 1/3. So I have 25 times 1, 25 over 3 times 3 is 9, and then x. So I have 25 over 9x. So since this is not just plain old x, they are not inverses. So I'm going to say no, p of q does not equal x. And you could have wrote p of q of x does not equal x. And remember, why an inverse wants to be x is because if you had like say you had 2x, what would you do to solve it out if it was equal to something? You divide by 2, right? And the reason you divide by 2 is because you'd have x by itself. So these would be inverses. So you want to make sure that it equals x, right? Alright, so let's go to the back. Alright, number 9, it says, what is the inverse of the function which contains only these points? So how do you find an inverse? You switch x and y, is right. So we would switch x and y. So instead of 6, -2, we have -2, 6. Instead of -1, -1, we're going to have -1, 1. And the last one, we have 1, 6. Alright, number 10. Rob is getting paid bi-weekly, and he makes a salary of $700. In addition, he's going to get commission of $80 for every block of 500 he sells. So just to kind of show you what this means is, if he doesn't sell anything, he's going to get $700. But then say he sells $500 worth of merchandise. They're going to take the $500 merchandise, and they're going to divide it by the 500, and that's going to be 1. That's called a block. What are they going to do? How much are they going to pay him for that one block? They're going to pay him $80, right? So this would be multiplied by 80, right? But now they are saying that if he did 600, so if he did 600, they'd go 700 plus 80 times 600 divided by 500. Well, what does that equal? That equals 600 divided by your 500 is 1.2. So 1.2. Do you think, and they're only going to do per block, they're not giving them a partial block, do you think they're going to round it up to 2 and pay them for 2 blocks, or do you think they're going to just say, oh, you only got 1? They'd say you only did 1 because they don't want to have to pay you more than they have to, so they're going to round down. And 600 is what keeps changing, so that would be my n. So I have 700 plus 80n divided by my 500, so C is the answer. Alright. Number 11. Alright, she's saving $365 and plans to save $5 more each week. So what you'd have is f of x is going to equal 365 plus $5 for every week, and they want x to be the weeks, and x is going to always be whole number, so we don't have to worry about rounding up or rounding down. And now it says, well, find f inverse of 410. Explain what that means. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to find that inverse. Alright, so we have f of x is equal to 365 plus 5x. Right? So now we are going to go and say, let's put it to y equals 365 plus 5x. And then what do I have to do to find the inverse? I have to switch x and y. So I have x equals 365 plus 5y. Alright. Now I have to solve for my y. So I have x minus 365 is equal to 5y. And then I'm going to divide by my 5. So my y 5's cancel out. So I'm left with y equals x minus 365 all over 5. Alright, so now the first thing that I want to do is to change this y back. So what did we find here? What does this y represent? It represents the inverse of this function. So we have f inverse of x equals x minus 365 over 5, right? Then what did it ask us to do? Well, let's go look and see what it said. It says to find f inverse of 410. So what does it want us to do? It wants us to put in 410 in for x. So that means it's 410 minus 365, and we're going to divide that by 5. So I have 410 minus 365, and I divide that by 5, that gives me 9. So f inverse of 410 is equal to 9. So what does that tell me? Well, let's see. We switched our x's and y's, and x was weeks, so now it's y is week. So that means that this right here is weeks. So it takes us 9 weeks to save $410. So 9 weeks to save $410. That's what it means. Alright. The graph of the function f of x, which equals negative 11x to the 4th, lies in which two quadrants? So the first thing hopefully we have to do is we have to remember what are our quadrants. So this is quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4. Alright? So now we have to think about what does it look like when we have an even exponent. It looks like your parabola. Now is that parabola opening up or down? Down, because of that negative, right? So it's going to open down. So that means it lies in quadrant 3 and 4. Alright. 13 says graph the function with the equation f of x is equal to the absolute value of x plus 5. Alright, so the first thing is let's find where the vertex is, and or that point of your absolute value function. So we have here, since it's x plus 5, we want to know when y is 0, so that means it's going to be negative 5. So negative 5 plus 5 is 0. So I have the point negative 5, 0. So that's my x-intercept. Then I want to pick a point to my right and then to my left. So let's pick a point to the right. So it doesn't matter what point you pick. So if I'm gonna pick the point. I can pick the point negative 4. So negative 4. So I have negative 4 plus 5 absolute value. So I have 5 minus 4 is 1. That's 1. Absolute value is 1. So that's going to go here. So we're going to have on this side, going to go through our corners, and it's going to go on forever. Let's do on the other side. Let's do our other half of our. So we have negative 6. So I have negative 6 plus 5 absolute value. Negative 6 plus 5 is negative 1. Absolute value of that is also 1. So that means it's going to go here. Go through those and on forever. Right? So that's what the graph looks like. 14. Let's see, where's 14? Alright, last page. 14. What is the domain and range of this function? What does it mean to be domain? Domain is what are my values of x, right? So what are your values of x? So looking here, do I have anything that is going on with my x's? No, but as soon as I get to the graph, I have something going on with my x's. And then after this, it's no more because it stops here. So my x values go between negative 4 and 0. So that means that we have negative 4 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 0. Now your y values, you're going y values. We have our y values. There's nothing here until we get to 3. And then after 7, there's no more y values. So that means my y values go between 3 and 7. So 3 is less than or equal to y, which is less than or equal to 7. Alright. Which of the graphs are functions? So what does it have to pass to be a function? The vertical line test. So that's a function. So 1. That's not a function because it hits twice. That's a function. And then this is a function because that's not included, so that's a function. So functions have to pass the vertical line test. Which of these functions are one-to-one? So which ones are one-to-one? One-to-one has to pass the horizontal line test. So if I did a horizontal line test, that still would pass. This still would not pass because it hits twice. This one wouldn't pass because it hits twice. And that one would pass. Alright, 16. Use the graph at the right for A and B. It says graph the inverse of the function shown at the right on the same coordinate plane. Alright, so let's graph that first. So this is the first, let's pick some points. So this point right there is -2, 0. This is my f, right? This is my f of x. Then we want to pick another point. So I'm going to pick a point that's maybe over here. So I'm going to pick the point negative, I'll pick this point right here. We have -4. You could pick any points, but I'm just picking that point. -4, 2. And then I'll pick a point over on this side. So I'll pick this point, which is 0, 2. Alright, so now what are the coordinates of those points for my inverse? So my inverse, so it would be 0 and -2. And because this is the point, this is also the point. So that's going to be the point of the new v. So this is 2, -4, and 2, 0. So we have 0, -2, 2, -4, and then 2, 0. And remember, it goes on forever. B. B says restrict the domain of the function. So restrict the domain of this function in A so that the inverse is also a function, because remember this is not a function because it didn't pass the vertical line test. So we would like to get rid of part of it. So if we would get rid of either this part of it or this part of it, it would be a function. So we want to restrict this domain so that this is a function. So what we would do is we could just restrict it up here so that x would be greater than your -2. And there's lots of ways you could do it, but this a sample would be that x is going to be greater than and even equal to -2. Sample means that there's more than one answer. Alright, last problem, 17. Seventeen says to find g of f of x. So we have here g of f of x. So what is g? G is 3x minus 7. And then I want to put in f of x inside of my x. So I'm going to put this inside here. So that's x squared minus 3. So I have to distribute. So I have 3x squared minus 9 minus 7. So 9 minus 7, they're both negative, so we're adding. So 9 and 7 is 16. So I have 3x squared minus your 16. So that is your g of f of x, which is final answer 3x squared minus 16. Then it says to find f of g of x. So now we're going to take the f value, so that is, instead of x, x squared minus 3. And now I'm going to put in this in for that value, in for x. So I have 3x minus 7, right? So now it says to square this. So remember, you can FOIL it out, so you could come over here and go 3x minus 7 times 3x minus 7 and FOIL it. First, outer, inner, and last. But also try to remember the shortcut. Remember the shortcut is you square the first. So 3x squared would be 9x squared. Multiply it together. So we have 7 times 3 is our 21x. Double it gives me a negative 42x. Square the last. So negative 7 squared is 49. And I want to bring down my minus 3. Combine like terms. So my final answer is 9x squared minus my 42x plus my 46. 9x squared minus 42x plus my 46. Alright class, that's the end of the video, and hopefully you enjoyed and you learned, and I will see you in class. And good luck on your test, which is on Wednesday.